This is homework help for S4 National 4-5 homework, due Tuesday the 3rd November 2015. Starting with the National 5 side, question 1 asks you to evaluate this. Now you need to use your laws of indices. The first one being, if you have 1 over a to the n, this is equal to a to the negative n. The second law you're going to have to use is m, the mth root of a to the power of n equals a to the n over m. So using those two rules, you can turn this into 3 times 25 to the power of something, and you can then change this into this form here. So you're going to have it in this form and you're going to change it into this. You'd then be able to simplify, and that will be your final answer. Question 2 asks you to factorise. So the first thing you want to do is look at your 8, your coefficient of x squared, and your negative 3, multiply them together. That's going to give you negative 24. You then need to list all your factors of negative 24. So we can start with negative 1 and 24, negative 2 and 12, and so on, and you can go down, and then once you've done the negative ones on this side, you can then write them again, but as positive numbers. So you then have 1 and negative 24, 2 and negative 12, and so on. Once you've written out all your factors, you're looking for the two that when added together give you this positive 10. So that of course is going to be negative 2 and 12. You can then rewrite your original equation as 8x squared minus 2x plus 12x minus 3. You will notice that minus 2x plus 12x is just the same as plus 10x. You've just rewritten it in a different way. You can then split this into 2, and you're going to factorise each set individually. So 8x minus 2x, well, 2x goes into both of those, so we can then make that 4x minus 1 plus, and on this side we should have 4x minus 1 in brackets as well, but let's check that that works. So 3 goes into both of them, that's the common factor. 3 times 4x is 12x, 3 times minus 1 is minus 3, so that's correct. Then all you do is you're going to have 4x minus 1 in your first set of brackets, and then in the second set you put your 2x plus 3, and that would be your final answer. There are various ways to do question 3. What you do have to make sure you do is deal with the brackets before anything else. So a way of doing this, 5 and a half subtract 3 and 5/6, you may want to turn into improper fractions. So 5 and 1/2 is the same as 11 halves, 11 over 2. 5 times 2 is 10 plus the 1 is 11. Then 3 times 6 is 18. 18 plus 5 is 23. You then want to make sure the denominators are the same. So we can take this 2 and turn it into 6. In order to do that, we need to multiply by 3. 2 times 3 is 6. Whatever we do to the bottom, we have to do to the top. You can then do a simple subtraction sum. You will get something over 6. You can then go on to work out 3/4 of your answer. Now remember, when you are multiplying fractions, it's nice and simple. You multiply 3 times whatever the number on top is over 4 times 6. Question 4 is simultaneous equations. Again, there are two methods you can use. The one I'm going to use is by substitution for this one, as we are already given one of the equations in terms of x, where x is the subject. So to do this, I've done it in two different colours so I can show you exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to rewrite equation 1, okay, so we will call that equation 1, and equation 2 is x equals 5y plus 9. I'm going to rewrite the first equation, but instead of x, I'm going to put in 5y plus 9 because we're being told that that is what x is equal to, so we can replace this x by this here. So I'm going to write 3, instead of x it's 5y plus 9, then minus 2y equals 14. You can then multiply out the brackets, solve the equation for y. You will then have a value for y, whatever that may be, and you can then substitute that into this equation here. So you will end up with x equals 5 times whatever your value for y is, plus 9. Question 5 asks you to rationalise the denominator, which means we do not want a third on the bottom of the fraction. In order to do that, we need to multiply everything by root 2. So that is equal to 8 if we multiply the top by root 2 and multiply the bottom by root 2. Root 2 times root 2 is 2. So you will then have 8 root 2 over 2, and you can simplify that further. Question 6 asks you to remove the brackets and simplify. So we're just doing it as we would whether it was x's or y's or anything else. We're going to do it in the exact same way by multiplying everything in this bracket by everything in this bracket. So for me personally, the easiest way to do it, 3 root 2 times root 2. So we're going to get 3 root 2 times root 2. Then 3 root 2 times negative root 6. We're going to have subtract 3 root 2 root 6. And then you're going to do the same 5 root 6 times root 2, and then 5 root 6 times negative root 6. So you can finish that off. Then when you come to simplify it, 3 root 2 times root 2 is going to be just 2. Then minus 3 root 2 root 6. Remember, you cannot just multiply the root 2 and the root 6 to get root 12. That does not work. And then you're going to have the rest of your equation there. And then just keep going and see how far you can simplify it. On to the National 4 side of the worksheet. It asks you firstly to calculate the volume of a cuboid, just using the simple formula, length times breadth times height. You're then asked to calculate the surface area. Now, to calculate the surface area, you need to work out the area of each side first of all. Area is, of course, length times breadth. So you're going to have 3 rectangles that you should be looking at that might be slightly different. So the first one, for example, will be 12, 9. The second one is going to be 8 and 9. And then the last one is going to be the one underneath, which will be 12 times 8. Of course, you do have 2 of each, so you need to work out the area of each rectangle and times each of them by 2 and add your answers together. Question 2 is asking you which is the better deal. In order to do that, you need to look at both of them. First of all, 6 payments of £80, looking at the first one. So you're just going to work out what the total cost of that would be. So in this case, it would just be 6 times £80. Then, of course, you need to add the £250 deposit. You do that for both deals and see which one works out cheaper, which one is the better deal. It does say show all your working, so do not just write the answer. Question 3 asks you to find x to 1 decimal place. Nice Pythagoras' theorem question. So, which Pythagoras' theorem is, of course, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we can input our values that we have. Let's say that a squared, let's say a is x, and B is 31. So C is always the hypotenuse, is going to be 45 squared. You do of course want x on its own. You want to find the value for x, so you're going to have to do some rearranging. So you're going to end up with x squared equals 45 squared, subtract 31 squared. You can work that out. Do not forget you want x and not x squared, so x is going to equal the square root of your answer, and then you want it to 1 decimal place.